Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Wizards Outlook. We got Cardo Dudley Jr. I'm Wilson Tarpe Jr. The Washington Wizards. Tale of two halves here. Really good half out on the road. It's the beginning of a long trip out west. Played really good in the first half. Second half, saw the Warriors take control of the game, led by Andrew Wiggins. And the Warriors did not relinquish that lead once they took the game over. We saw a veteran team. Um, you saw the Warriors kind of go, we're not going to keep shooting threes with you guys. They made it a point to put their head downs in the second half, get to the basket, and Wiz kind of took that role as somebody, in a different way that would, similar to what Kevin brought them at a time where, they got in the habit of taking too many jumpers. You need somebody in the half court to kind of slow things down, get you a bucket, and he was able to do that. I thought he had a big game. You saw Schroeder step up. That said, Curtis, what did you think about the Wizards? Like, what went wrong for them? Because we saw them kind of have an out of body experience with how well they shot the three in the first half, and then just kind of things fell apart as the game went on, and literally as the second half started.
Yeah, you can't maintain. Look, they were blazing hot. Like they were hot like if 17, 18 Warriors where KD was there. And let's say Steph, Clay, and KD were like locked in. Like they were hot like those teams' third quarter runs. They would put teams away. No matter what, if they were down or up, they would just put them away early in the third quarter and it'd be over by the end of the third. You know what I mean? And I think they just fell in love. The Wizards did. They fell in love with the 3-point shooting. I just think they did to really bring it home with how hot they were. In the first half, they were 13 to 24, 54% from deep, 47% overall. Think about it. Out of their 19 total field goals, 13 were threes in the first half. You see what I'm saying? That's blazing hot. It's ridiculous hot. And 5 of those threes came from Jordan Poole. He was 5'8". Obviously, he's motivated playing against his former team. He always wanted to show that. You know how it is. You playing your former team, want to show like, yeah, you missed out. Jordan Poole, had 23 in the first half, 5 of 8. Bub Carrington was next, 11, 3 or 4. They were blazing hot, and it was helped that Draymond Green went out early in the game as well with an injury. Because defensively, I think they would have made some adjustments to try to slow the Wizards down. But in the second half, Jordan Poole, 15 points, 5 of 12 from the field, 3 of 7 from deep. Bub, 6 points, 2 of 4 from the field. They cooled off. Now Kyle Kuzma got going. He had 20 points, 7 to 9. The problem is only 2 players in the second half scored in double figures. Poole with 15 and Kuzma. Meanwhile, on the Warriors, a more balanced attack. Steph Curry had 13 in the second half. Andrew Wiggins had 19, 7 of 11, 3 of 5. Dennis Schroeder had 12, 4 of 7. And Moses Moody had 10. You see what I'm saying? And then you throw in Gary Payton II with 7 points and Kevin Looney with 6. And it's 6 and 7 in the second half. You see how they scratch and claw and were able to stay close. And then in the fourth quarter, they just took them out because the Wizards were literally cold. They shot 40% from the field overall. They only made 9 field goals and 4 of those were threes. You see what I'm saying? It's hard to maintain that when they cooled off, and which pretty much as the game went on, they started cooling off more and more. When they got to the fourth quarter, they couldn't hit shots. And meanwhile, the Warriors just consistently play their game. And you could just tell Kerr, and obviously having a bunch of veterans over there that have won championships and stuff like that, you could just tell that their thing was, they cannot keep this up for the entire game. Just stay the course. Stay the course. They'll cool off, and they did. But fourth quarter on the Warriors side, they shot 47% from the field. And 11 out of that, 11 made field goals, 3 were threes. They got to the line 11 times and made 8 of those free throws, 15 rebounds. Most importantly, they only turned the ball over twice in the fourth. So they didn't beat themselves, kept the balanced attack throughout the game, played efficient brand of basketball, and they were able to come back and pull off the win. You know what I mean? So, even in the second half, the Warriors outscored the Wizards, 69 54. You know what I'm saying? Just playing balanced basketball, man. You know what I'm saying? And I know we've seen a bunch of games this year where teams start off blazing hot and they pretty much carried it throughout. But that's because the other team kind of wilted. They would just kind of fade defensively, and the Warriors, needing a win, couldn't afford to do that. You know what I'm saying? I know they were just like, nah, we can't allow this to happen, especially on our home floor. So they just stayed the course, kept competing, and got the job done. Think about it. Last thing, Golden State outscored the Wizards 58-23 points in the paint. It just tells you what I mean by they just did what they do. They didn't let that mess them up or change course at all. They just kept attacking, and it worked out for them.
Like you said, I think that was the biggest thing, was just sticking with the fact that a team coming into this game that does not shoot the threes particularly well, can they really do it for 4 quarters? One, we'll live with that. Two, we're just going to get to the basket. Simplify basketball. Sometimes, that way, it's kind of weird. I think it's like the second time this week we've talked about folks just kind of getting back to that old boring thing we talk about. Playing basketball that way is still very effective. If Wiggins took his sweet time in the second half, he was unbothered, not rushed in the least bit. I thought another part was the glass. Kevon Looney made a living. Second chance points, just some of the tips, things like that. He wasn't alone in that regard. I think they won on the glass. It was plus 11, but 17 offensive rebounds. So you talked about I think you said it was 11 made field goals in the first quarter, right? By Golden State. If only 3 of them were threes, again, going to that points in the paint, going to them, that means you're getting 2 feet in the paint more than often and getting fouled. It made the Wizards pay for some of the things they struggle with. On the broadcast, we're talking about, I think I ended up watching the Warriors broadcast. And they were just talking about the Wizards, I think you brought it up a couple of shows ago, where the Wizards rank offensively, defensively. The Warriors simply played to that. In the second half as the game went on. And the fouling, playing with your hands instead of your feet, got you in trouble. Not boxing out, got you in trouble. Some of the very silly fouls got you in trouble. And as you said, a veteran team, you got some folks that win the championship. They've been through games like this before. Put your head down, you stay level-headed, you're going about your business. But I just thought the Wizards, not the Wizards, so the Warriors bench was huge in this one. It was huge. Steph, thumb injury or whatnot, we even saw him as the game went on. 3 wasn't falling. He put his head down. I think he didn't really hit a 3 till late in the fourth for a while, because he was off for a bit from 3. But we saw him after a while, stop taking threes. I'm going to get downhill. Again, things you've been preaching. It's simple sometimes. I think Schroeder did a really good job getting into the paint over and over again, and Washington struggled with it. Moses Moody, want to shout out him. You brought up Gary Payton in a second. Him as well. He did a great job coming in and give them a lift in the second half. We see your comment, Alexander. We'll get to it as soon as we finish with Player of the Game X Factor. But, Cardo, if you had nothing else, I'm going to ask you for Player of the Game.
Also, 23-9 second chance points in favor of the Warriors. Player of the game, obviously, Andrew Wiggins, 31, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, 12-22 from the field, 4-10 from deep. The only thing he did wrong, he shot 50% from the free throw line, 36. 1 turnover. He was flawless. I know people still, because the Warriors are struggling, it's just the cool thing to beat up on Wiggins, but he is far from the problem. Think about where they would be without him this season. So, hell of a game.
Also, something to double down with the Wiggins and where they would be without him. So he's shooting 39 from deep this year. In addition to everything he brings to the table, which we talked about already, which was highlighted in this game in that second half. So you add all the other stuff he does, and I think sometimes people forget that's a career 20-point per game scorer. As an NBA player that's averaged 24 his whole career. It's a luxury for the Warriors to have, and it's somebody they sorely need him. I don't know what this game looks like without him. With Steph being off how he was, I don't know where you get some of that from tonight. X factor for you.
It is Schroeder, Dennis Schroeder,
Okay.
with 20 points, 4 assists. He hasn't really gotten going since he got traded there. But he looked like Dennis Schroeder tonight, like Olympic Dennis Schroeder. He looked like it's finally starting to click, and they've been waiting on that. You could also go with Tracy Jackson Davis, man. He was a monster on the board, 6 and 15, but it was the defensive presence. He kind of, when Draymond went out, he had to kind of fit that role. You know what I mean? So, yeah, but definitely Schroeder.
Yeah, I went Schroeder too. They talk about the broadcast is the best game he's played as a Warrior. This is the guy they traded for, like as you alluded to. Hasn't had that type of success yet on the floor, but again, on a night when Steph's having an off night, you got 51 from Wiggins and Schroeder, and they haven't had a guard since the guy that plays for the Warriors, kind of filling that role with somebody else that can create. Which they sorely needed. I know they were wishing from Pods. I know he's out, but that's why they went out and got Schroeder. Schroeder's, like you talked about, we saw how much damage Schroeder does for Germany. He's also a good NBA player, but kind of just what he brings to the table naturally is something they really, really need. And for the most part, you talked about Trace, even Looney and Moody to an extent. I kind of expect that from them. I'm not surprised by nights like that. Schroeder was huge tonight in that one. We'll get to the comment. We had Alexander Wilson, the offensive rebound and second chance points killed the Wizards, alluding to some of the things that we brought up earlier.
They're playing the game, man. And one more thing about Wiggins before we get out of here. He's averaging 16, 4, and 2 in 29 minutes. So he's not even playing like 35 or whatever. You give that to him, he's well over 20. But his splits. He actually is shooting better from the field than Steph on 4 less shots, 45.1%, and shooting 39% from deep, and nearly 80% from the free throw line. And he's probably, I know he's guarding one of the top 2 threats every night by delivering that. He's far from the problem. So, it's just, if people watch the games, they will understand what's going on. I always gotta defend him, man. Like, don't get me wrong. Sometimes when years pass where he was kind of up and down, but now we know what it was. His father was dying, so he was dealing with that. But outside of that, people just love to mess with him. You know how it is. So they don't watch the games and really understand his impact. Like I said, without him, Steph probably like, get me the hell up out of here.
No, facts. And again, outside of that stretch where he lost a parent, he's been remarkably consistent during the Warriors phase of his career. Like you can set your watch to him, which is why that stretch was so weird when he was in Golden State. But like you said, everyone knows why, because that playoff run, they don't win that championship without Andrew Wiggins. Like, just be perfectly honest, clear. We could talk about the big three or what have you. He took that role that the other guy they brought in had, and it was a big role. Except, again, Clay, he took on some of Clay's role too. So you got to be the premier defender and then be the creator that they sorely need, because that was the issue, after they, before they went to do what they did in free agency. Like,
right.
That is a big role for them. And we know they can't thrive without somebody in that role. Whatever level that role might be, whatever level that player might be, but they need it. They need someone else. They need a wing that can create. I guess that's the best way to say it. Because they struggle at times to do it. Somebody who's big enough to get their own shot off when things get bogged down and those wonderful jumpers are not falling. Did you add anything else you wanted to add?
No, we are good for the most part. Yeah, good.
Okay. We touched on everything. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. The Wizards take on the Sacramento Kings. So things don't get any easier for Washington on this wild trip out west.